What is going on, everybody? Time to take a step away from our busy work day, have some lunch together, hang out, talk about some CrossFit, talk about some sports, talk about some stuff like that. So, yeah, we got CrossFit. What's for lunch? I'm gonna go wrap today. I'm gonna go chicken Caesar wrap, and then just some raw veggies to eat on the side. Asian flavor punch. What's your favorite food at a comp? Howdy from Burbank. You must be at the airport, Tristan. Aaron Fraser going with a ribeye. So yeah. What's my favorite thing to eat? I cannot eat during a comp. But I probably won't compete again. At least in CrossFit. I'm just past that. But I used to just eat, like, we called them energy nutty balls. It's kind of like what Holy Balls is, but my wife would make them homemade with peanut butter and protein powder and honey and oatmeal. And that's kind of what I would eat just to keep my calories up for that. So yeah, a lot of people in the chat already. Before I jump into like the drama from last night, because that's going to be more opinion based, I did want to get out a couple of little pieces of news. I just finished watching the Bayley Martin video about what happened to him at the Torian Pro. Turns out that he had what they're calling a mini heart attack at the Torian Pro. He did not withdraw. He was removed from the competition by the medical team. And it sounds like that is a good thing that they removed him. They did testing on him, found out that he has some inflammation in his heart, and it's still there. There was a blockage of oxygen getting to the heart during the competition, and they pulled him from the competition. He has inflammation in there. He is not able to work out for at least a month. So he is not able to do the last chance qualifier. He can't even go to zone 2. They will be monitoring him with another stress test and some other tests after the month, and then see where they can go from there. Then the end of the video is kind of his plans if all is well. But really, I just wanted to find out kind of what happened, and that's what it was. It was a mini heart attack. It is serious, but it is fixable. And now it's just going through some testing, getting the inflammation down in the heart, and figuring all of that out. So that came out, I think, this morning. I also watched Arielle Lowen's video this morning about the Red Bull Rancher Strong Challenge that she ended up winning. There were a lot of F45, American Ninja Warriors, and OCR racers at that event. Arielle ends up winning. There's actually some footage of her doing pretty much the entire obstacle course, and she's freaking phenomenal. She dominated pretty much every race that I saw that they showed. And in the final, she won by a big margin. So anyway, CrossFit says Arielle looks jacked AF. Yeah, she's been looking jacked for the last couple of years. But it's a fun video, just like always, just that fun family video with Dylan and Blakely having a good time at this event. They spent a lot of time with Guy. Guy ended up taking 5th in the event, but it's a fun watch, stuff like that. So let's get into the chaos of last night. So much chaos. so many rumors coming out. Like, I don't even know what to believe anymore. I talked to Carolyn a little bit this morning. I know Tristan's in the chat. I'm sure he has a take on all of this. And as I said last night on the show, my heart was ripping in two last night because Carolyn is a co-host on my Sunday night show. Hattie was a co-host on our Live with From Bali series that we did for 9 months. I am good friends with both of these women. And the fact that only one of them got their ticket was tearing me apart last night. I hated the fact that they didn't get to finish the event. That it capped for everybody but one athlete. There's, as a final event, that should never be the case. Ever be the case. I talked to Carolyn this morning. She literally had 5 seconds after changing the weights to make one off-kilter attempt at the clean. I know Hattie was rushed when she was there. It just didn't seem like anybody had proper time to set up for that. I just hated it. I hated every bit of it. And I wish they would have had one more minute so we could have seen a finish. I think you would leave on a much bigger high seeing one of the women hit the clean and finish, and that be the way they get their tickets to the games. But at the end of the day, I'm super happy for Hattie. I'm super gutted for Carolyn. Not only did it cap, but it capped at the same spot. Yeah. I actually had heard rumor. I think Colton said last night that there was no tiebreaker until they realized nobody was finishing. And then they came up with a tiebreaker. I talked to Carolyn this morning. The tiebreaker was actually written on the scorecard, but it was never said in any of the briefings. But if you read your scorecard, it actually said what the tiebreaker was. So there was a tiebreaker in place in writing prior to the event. So, Lito says, just need an extra minute on that time cap or one less rope climb. Yeah. Or not make them change weights. Have bars prepared, which would have solved another problem when we go to talk to the men. So anyway, so there's that. So congratulations to Hattie. She deserves it. She's an amazing person. So glad she gets to go back to the games. But I am pretty much gutted for Carolyn. She's getting ready for last chance qualifier. But that has its own they've released a time frame for this week. They're not releasing the workouts till Thursday, yet you're still required to have 2 judges. And Carolyn's in scramble mode. She doesn't go to a big gym. She's not part of a camp. So to get 2 people to dedicate their weekend not knowing what that weekend is going to be like is going to be really, really difficult. So typical CrossFit and waiting till the last minute to kind of announce things. She's kind of going to be in scramble mode. Tristan, so I agree, but my take is this. If they had more time, Hattie still would have gotten to the bar first, probably would have made it if she rested longer. And of course, Carolyn feels confident in that. I don't disagree, but I think we as spectators felt cheated because we didn't get to see it finish. And it just ended with a dud. And also there's a real reality where there's more time and Hattie misses and Carolyn misses as well. So. Also on tiebreaker, yes, it was on the scorecard. So yeah, I agree with you, Tristan. There are a ton of inevitabilities, but I just felt cheated. Like they didn't get a chance to finish. And me as a spectator felt like I missed out. Again, I'm friends with both of them, and I wanted both of them to get a ticket. That was not even possible. So I'm just trying to do it from an unbiased point of view. I think the fans got cheated without it finishing. That's all. So that's how the women ended up. Hattie's going to the CrossFit Games. Alex Kazan's going to the CrossFit Games. Then we go to the men's side. As everything kind of ended last night, we didn't really know what was going on, but then we did find out that through some video footage during the broadcast and then Taylor talking afterwards, Taylor did tell Nate that he had the wrong weight on the bar. And I said last night, there's no way should a media member be involved in the outcome or the race of a competitive event. If you are inside the ropes, you should be quiet and just do your job. You should not interact with the athletes, just document the athletes. But at the end of the day, Nate needed to be responsible for that weight. He was asking judges. He was asking a lot of people. He really needed to take responsibility into that. But then I've heard a ton of rumors about all of that too. So Dave Hardy, do you need to use that font when posting comments? Too weird, can't read. I change it every day just because that's the kind of person I am. We actually had this discussion last week. I just change it up because I get tired of the same font. Tomorrow it'll be something simple. Carolyn is a savage athlete. First time getting to watch her in person. She's a workhorse. She is awesome. There's a reason she's so good at like all the different stuff she does. Seems like no one knew what the correct weight should have been. According to Bryson, the whiteboard said 325, but the diagram showed 315. Overall, poor leadership as a whole in the event. That I completely agree with. And as we said with the women, if the bars were preloaded, you don't have this problem. The athlete just goes up and lifts what's there. TEF will take the font next. They can have it. Wild going into an event you don't know the weight and haven't visualized everything you are going to do. I think that's part of the test. I know that like I'm pretty analytical about things, but when I'm under fatigue, my mind doesn't always work great. So I've been in events where I'm looking, going, what do I do next? Just because I'm under fatigue and I not thinking clearly. And I think that's a big part of this game is athletes need to be able to think and process information under fatigue so that they can perform to the best of their ability. The physical part is just about 75% of it. The mental part of it is 25% or greater to that. I give Taylor credit for coming off as a jerk. He took ownership for his mistake. Probably bad for his persona, but nice to see. Every time I've ever talked to Taylor, like he has been very open to other ideas. I know his on-screen persona is very not that, but personally, every time I've had a discussion, he's been open to what we've said. I think And I wasn't surprised that he took ownership of that, but it shouldn't have happened. It just shouldn't have. I bet with the number of lanes, having 3 preloaded bars for each lane would be tough. Then do more heats or cut down to the top 10 or the top 20 for that last event. When you're qualifying for the CrossFit Games, you can't do the Temu version of the event. You have to do the way it is written and the way it makes the most sense so that you get a good test for those people. He should have ignored Nate, unfortunately. And Nate should have ignored him. You should never be looking at a media member for advice during a competition, and vice versa. They had so many unnecessary plates out. The white shouldn't have been out there. I agree. There were so many things that were wrong with that final event. I don't even know if we could list them all in the 45 minutes that we have for my lunch hour. CrossFit. I can't drive my Volvo around Monaco during F1 qualifying. Correct. That is it right there. Aaron Fraser, the floor was not big enough for 3 preloaded bars. It's all how it could have been. It could have been. You may not have had the 2 box jumps in between. You may have had to move those or do 2 box jumps over the same box or something like that. The issue isn't the event. The issue is being a qualifier for the games. Exactly. Tristan Patrick, like I said, I could write a dissertation on everything that was wrong. Correct. And I think that brings us to the next thing. Like, should NorCal be a qualifier for the CrossFit Games? And my leaning on that is that no, it should not be. There are too many variables in this competition for it to be a legit qualifier for the CrossFit Games. And I was texting with Tristan yesterday that if I'm an elite athlete or an elite coach, after this year, looking at what happened, I would be a fool to rest on the opportunity of NorCal being my one shot at a ticket to the CrossFit Games. I would be a fool. Now, I know Tristan and Hattie were under an issue where she had to heal up, so their only shot was this. And I can't imagine the immense pressure that puts on the two of them, and maybe Tristan can talk about that. The immense pressure it puts on the two of them with all the shenanigans that are happening during that event. And this is your only shot. That had to be insane. Across that, Ben and Blair got very comfortable with the, oh, well, that's NorCal equivalent of saying island time. I agree. Like, everybody's like, well, this is what NorCal is. This is what NorCal is. Well, that's fine if they want to be that. And honestly, like, it is a fun event to watch. And maybe it is our celebration of where CrossFit came from, because it is very grassroots. It is very community driven. It is 1,500 athletes in one space. It is outdoors. It's in a park. It's showing how approachable CrossFit can be. And maybe it is our celebration of where we came from. but it should not be a qualifying event to the CrossFit Games. Under normal circumstances, there would be direction as to what qualifies as a comp, as a qualifier, and NorCal wouldn't make the cut next year. But CrossFit ain't normal right now. Sadly, that is about as true of a statement as I've seen today. The whole "it's NorCal" line pisses me off. Cop out. It is great for an off-season competition. I agree, T-Bird, 100%. I think it is a fun event to watch. It is a fun event to probably participate in. I know I've talked to Amanda Hari, who did the intermediate level and just had a blast there. And it maybe elevate it to, you are our celebration of what we were, of how it all started, how people just went to the park and did CrossFit.com. I think that is awesome. And it can be all of that. Doesn't have to be a qualifier to the CrossFit Games. It's a NorCal thing. Is like blaming your zodiac sign for being an asshole. There we go. So then who deemed it a qualifier? Jody, I think that's kind of an open-ended question. I think that the initial plan for this season was the only way to qualify was going to be an online semifinal. Then some event organizers came to CrossFit and said, hey, we have an event. Can you just give us 1 or 2 spots and we will hold the event for that? And CrossFit said, hey, that's a good idea. We can appease some people by doing that. Then more and more of these event organizers signed up. So we ended up with like 9. We ended up with an original 8, and then NorCal came in very, very last minute and even moved their dates to fit within this time frame. And it all happened kind of after the fact, just like everything else happens in the CrossFit space. So I don't know if it was really deemed by anybody, or any of these events were deemed by anybody. And so I think it just signed up. Jonathan Ortega, I like it as a qualifier. You are entitled to that opinion. Larry Young, things change every year. It might not be next year. Well, there could be a big change going into next year because this whole thing could sell. We may have new owners who have different philosophies and different ways of doing things. So next year's probably going to be another big change. CrossFat says, everyone has a friend with a nostalgic piece of shit car. Wouldn't bring a baby home from the hospital in it, though. Jonathan said everybody was okay for it being a qualifier until it happened. And now you're against it. I think there also, Jonathan, was an assumption that when they decided that they were going to be a qualifier for the CrossFit Games, they would modify their approach to be more consistent in the way the event was run. And that didn't happen. So I think we were also duped into thinking there was going to be some sort of change with that, and there was not. Ryan says, I like it as a qualifier in theory. Just get it less chaotic. The tests are creative and unique, but they should still be standardized tests. Right. But how many times are you going to get fooled to thinking they're going to do that? And I think that's where it gets a little dicey. It is such a large event with 1,500 athletes, and they are amazing that they provide that for Northern California and that whole CrossFitting community. And I think they should be celebrated for that. I just don't know if that is enough to say, and you get this to qualify people to the games. Uh, Jeremy Eats World. Jonathan, that's quite literally how things work in life. It has promise, then it happens. We see it was a shit show, and opinions change. Tristan says, in my defense, I've never been and didn't know it was a dumpster fire. Lito was very concerned when they announced it. It was going to be a qualifier after I saw last year's event. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you can't get fooled again. Yeah. Honestly, I think we were duped into thinking it would change. They were getting consultation from Mayhem. And if you watch the Hiller video, all the testing was done indoors, yet the event happened outdoors. I mean, there's a lot of things that were missteps in this process. What was it? Maybe 5 events ended up the way they were supposed to be. I mean, or maybe 5 didn't end up how they were supposed to be. There were changes to so many events during the weekend. So it looks like everybody but Jonathan believes it should not be a qualifying event. And Ryan kind of thinks we should give them maybe another shot. But I don't think there's enough leadership at CrossFit to demand or have someone have some oversight to make sure that it would be done right. And so at this point, because we're leaving it up to those people on their own, it just can't be for now. But then again, a sale's going to happen at some point. We're going to have new ownership. And then who knows what's going to happen after that. The dream would be to find an economical way to have regionals again. Because for an affiliate growth model, I think that is the best way. So Corey says, if it were to be a qualifying event next year, it absolutely cannot be the shit show it seemed to be this past weekend. But let me ask you this. If they were a qualifying event next year, how many athletes would sign up for that to be their shot at the games? I think at that point, you're only getting the people desperate who haven't qualified elsewhere and are just looking for that final shot. And at that point, they have nothing to lose. Jeremy Eats World, 100, Scott. I think it can be done, and hopefully the new owners find a way, an economical way to do regionals. I don't think we need the big, massive venues like we did at the end of regionals. I think there's a way to do it more economically. And then when you have regionals, then you have affiliate buy-in with affiliates going close to the home to root on their athletes and their teams and all of that stuff. Make NorCal the last chance qualifier. Yeah. That won't have any controversy either. Benita, they even consulted with Mayhem on their programming. They did. And I don't. So watching the Hiller video, and that's the only source I have, is I don't feel like Rich wanted to tell them how to program their event. He wanted to look at their events and let them be them and just give them small suggestions. Maybe Rich should have said more. Not that it's his responsibility to, but it just didn't work. I thought the programming was fine. The execution and planning of it was not. I agree. I actually thought the events were fun. They were fun to watch. But if you're going to do a shuttle run, make sure all the cones are straight. If you're going to do farmer's carries, make sure when you go around the dummy at the end of the lane that you're not going to clang into other people coming the other direction. Make sure that there's enough time limit to actually have the race play out. There's so many things they just dropped the ball. Make sure you decide what weight you're going to go with and go with it. Make sure all of your documentation shares the same weight. 25 lanes was ridiculous. Yeah, and we're not even talking about like one of the biggest things. And Andrew can talk to judge fatigue. When you have 25 lanes and you have that many judges and you probably don't have a ton to give them time off in 90 to 100 degree heat, by the end of the weekend, when you need your judges to be the sharpest, they are not. They didn't even reel the cones. And I think they didn't even wheel them. They didn't even measure them. Making it the last chance qualifier would be great for entertainment value of the sport. Definitely get on it. Definitely gets eyes on it. I got it now. Got to read the emoji. During the 10-1 countdown for a heat, I was watching a judge look over at us and go, anybody have a pen? That's what I'm talking about. You get to Sunday, a lot of these judges are tired. They've put in a lot of work. They're volunteering their time. Tristan, stop. I was a judge for many years. Man, the biggest comps with 10 lanes and shifts where everybody got time off, those were the best comps with the best judging. It is sad, though, because I think it is a great event, but may not get people wanting to go now just based on all the stuff that happened. This is now what people know about the comp. But I think if it's just a celebration of what we are, then that's cool. And let it be that and like raise it up, promote it, as that. Hey, go back to like when we were at the ranch. This is a simulation of that, and we embrace all the gritty, dirt, weird stuff that happens at those types of events. Did anyone get why they all finished the run at the same point, but all the rowers were at different starting points? Did some people run longer than others? I know that question was brought up last night, and I know we questioned it, so I don't know, but I don't know if it seems like they ran different lengths. But I think you could say that with a lot of the events of the weekend, with the staggering and the way things played out on the field, I think people had to cover different distances. But I'm not even sure that makes the top 5 of crazy shit from the weekend. Lito, I'm just to be honest with you. It's been quite a final in-person qualifying event of the year. It was. And if you're just joining Spin, there's people now that want this to be the last chance qualifier every year just because of the eyes it would bring and the craziness and the chaos it would bring to a last chance qualifier. Anthony Adams, it will be just as big next year. It could be. I just don't think you're going to get athletes banking on this chaos for their tickets to the games. And like Tristan lived the stress. And he said in here, he's not going back unless he's forced to. I just don't think athletes are going to put their faith in this one event to get their tickets anymore. And so what are you going to have? You're just going to have the desperate people who couldn't qualify anywhere else and are willing to, as their last shot, go here. I think Meredith echoes a lot of people's sentiments. It can still be seen as a fun comp and a great payout. Just don't give it qualifier status. I'm curious what Kotler and Gazan thought about the weekend. Well, Justin was in our chat last night. They won by a long shot, and Justin was like, "We're confident in everything Alex does," and so we weren't stressed about it. So, yeah, he was here. He was making comments last night that they weren't fearful of anything over the weekend. But I also know they got worked up over what lane Alex was being assigned in that gator push until they changed the scoring on that. So he was playing it cool last night, but I don't think it was cool all weekend. Kevin Doyle, I did Kevin Doyle. I did the lunge wall ball today, way tougher on the arms. It's easy to play it cool after the fact. Of course it is. And especially with as many points as she won by, they weren't stressing it all on Sunday. A CrossFit. He's probably tapped into Alex's stash of gummies. If I was coaching this weekend, I would have been tapping into that too. Well, guys, I have other stuff, but we'll just hold that off until we get back at it tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff happening this weekend. But if you have not seen it, Bayley Martin had put out a video about what happened at Torian Pro. He did suffer what they're calling is a mini heart attack. He is done for the season. He is forced to take a month off. and that means he will not be able to do the last chance qualifier. So he is done for the year. If you have not seen that, please check that out. And our prayers and well wishes to him. Other than that, at least NorCal gives us a lot to talk about this week. So we have that. And it was a fun event to watch. Like I said, I think it should be elevated as the celebration of what CrossFit is, and CrossFit should promote it, and it should continue on as that, not necessarily a qualifier to the CrossFit Games. Anthony Adams, and that is exciting. Let's see all the rest duke it out for the dirt for a game spot. Sounds fun as a spectator. CrossFit isn't a professional sport. Games is a test to find the fittest, nothing more. Jeremy Eats World. Crazy mini heart attack in your 20s. Praying for the young man. Exactly. Hope he makes a full recovery. All right, guys. I got to get back to work. You knuckleheads, you get back to work. Like and subscribe to the channel below, and we'll see everybody next time on Lunch with the Clydesdale. Bye, guys.